Russia's Defense Minister Andrei Belousov is visiting North Korea to bolster Moscow's strategic military partnership with Pyongyang in the midst of the latter's troop dispatch to Russia. Indicators showing industrial production, consumption, and investment all fell in October, reflecting weaker domestic demand. Girl group NewJeans announces that they will leave their agency ADOR amid the recent conflict, while ADOR says their contract remains valid until 2029. It's November 29th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin our coverage with Russia's defense minister visiting Pyongyang at a time when stakes are high on the peninsula and beyond. It signals the acceleration of military cooperation between the two sides. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
Military cooperation between Moscow and Pyongyang is rapidly expanding, with Russian Defense Minister Andrei Belousov arriving in Pyongyang on Friday, according to Russian state media. TASS reported that Belousov was welcomed by North Korean Defense Minister No Wang-chol. Belousov highlighted the rapid growth of bilateral relations, particularly defense collaboration under the Strategic Partnership Treaty signed in June by Russia and North Korea's leaders. No also emphasized the importance of military ties, calling enhanced cooperation a top priority. The high-level visit also includes talks with senior North Korean military and political officials. This development comes amid growing concerns over North Korea's deployment of more than 10,000 troops to Russia's Kursk region to support Moscow's ongoing war in Ukraine. In a recent airstrike, Ukraine hit targets in the Kursk region, reportedly killing 500 North Korean soldiers. Ukrainian officials allege Pyongyang is seeking to gain combat experience through the deployment, even at the cost of significant troop casualties. The visit follows North Korean Foreign Minister Choi Sun-hye's recent trip to Moscow, where she met Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and unexpectedly sat down with President Vladimir Putin. The trip underscored Pyongyang's growing ties with Moscow amid increasing global scrutiny. Earlier in the week, South Korea's National Intelligence Service confirmed it was closely monitoring reports of North Korean casualties in Kursk and the broader implications of Pyongyang's military involvement in the conflict. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Military authorities here say 5 Chinese and 6 Russian aircraft entered the Korea Air Defense Identification Zone today. According to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the aircraft flew in and around the zone between 9:35 a.m. and 2 p.m. on this Friday. They approached from the East and South Seas but did not violate South Korea's airspace. The military said it detected the aircraft early and deployed fighter jets as a precaution. In response, South Korea's defense ministry contacted China's and Russia's defense attachés this afternoon to launch a formal protest. The ministry urged both nations to take steps to prevent future incursions, calling their actions a source of unnecessary tensions in the region. South Korea has successfully developed a long-range surface-to-air missile just by using domestic technology. This means the new missile can strike enemy targets at higher altitudes. Our correspondent Pyongyang explains more.
A missile precisely hits a target. This is a video released by South Korea's Defense Ministry, which announced Friday that it has successfully developed a long-range surface-to-air missile, also known as LSAM. The new missile system aims to shoot down North Korean missiles at higher altitudes, as it's said to be capable of striking targets at altitudes of 40 to 70 kilometers. It will contribute to the country's layered missile defense capabilities, along with the U.S. Patriot Advanced Capability 3 and the domestically developed Cheongung-2, which intercept targets at altitudes lower than 40 kilometers. Since 2015, the country spent over $850 million developing this new missile system. The chief researcher who led the development said the LSAM will be able to strengthen the combat power of South Korea's military.
With the development of the upper air defense system LSAM, along with the lower layer defense system Cheongung-2, we will establish a Korean multi-layer missile defense system by only using domestic technology.
At a ceremony on Friday to mark the completion of the missile's development, Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun delivered a strong warning message to North Korea.
The LSAM will act as our guardian and deterrent, protecting the lives and property of Koreans. Even in the case of a missile attack from North Korea, it will not be able to break our military's strong defense system, and the North will face a much greater cost, an end to its own regime.
President Yoon Suk-yeol also sent a congratulatory message, calling the development a groundbreaking advancement in the Korean missile defense system to counter North Korea's nuclear and missile threats. The military plans to start manufacturing LSAM next year and deploy it operationally in the mid to late 2020s. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
Israel carried out air and artillery strikes in Lebanon on Thursday, the second day of a ceasefire with Hezbollah announced earlier this week, targeting a rocket storage facility in the south of the country. The Lebanese authorities criticized the Israeli attacks that wounded 2 civilians, accusing the Israeli military of several violations of the terms of the ceasefire. In response, the Israeli military said its troops opened fire at, quote, several suspects violating the truce, as it says it had detected illicit activities at weapons depots. It warned that any significant violation by Hezbollah would lead to war. Factory output, retail sales, and facility investment also rendered ground in October, marking the first triple decline since May. Our Moon Hae-ryun covers the latest findings.
South Korea's economy faced a setback in October, with production, consumption, and investment all declining for the first time in 5 months. The data released by Statistics Korea on Friday underscores a persistent weakness in domestic demand. The country's industrial production index dipped 0.3% from the previous month, marking the second consecutive month of decline after a brief rebound in August. While manufacturing output increased by 0.4% due to a surge in semiconductor production, other sectors such as the auto sector faced challenges due to factory fires and strikes. Construction output contracted for the 6th consecutive month, the longest such streak since 2008. The decline was attributed to a slowdown in both civil engineering and building construction. Retail sales also fell by 0.4%, marking 2 straight months of decline. Although sales of non-durable goods like food and beverages increased, sales of durable goods like home appliances dropped significantly.
In October, there was a base effect from September because new telecommunication devices were released and bought that month. Also, the warmer weather this year led to lower sales of home appliances and heating products.
Meanwhile, facility investment fell by 5.8% month-on-month, largely due to decreased demand for machinery used in semiconductor manufacturing. This marked the largest decline since January of this year. This latest data follows the Bank of Korea's decision to cut the interest rate by another 25 basis points on Thursday, marking the first time in 15 years that the central bank has lowered the rate twice in a row. The BOK cited weak domestic demand as a reason behind the rate cut, as lowering the interest rate helps to stimulate economic activity by making borrowing cheaper. Experts, however, are doubtful about how much of an effect this could have on the country's declining construction sector.
Construction investment has been pretty poor for a long period, like 3 or 4 years. So I think it is not just because of the interest rate, it is a kind of a structural problem in the construction industry. So,
going forward, the BOK said it would continue to monitor domestic economic indicators to set the pace for further cuts. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
The building of 2 nuclear reactors by a South Korean consortium in the Czech Republic will be financed through state loans from the Czech government. This is according to a Czech official amid allegations of dumping practices. Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power was selected as the preferred bidder for the multi-billion-dollar project earlier in July, and rumors have since spread that the deal was sealed with a promise of financial support and dumping a low price. In an interview on Thursday, Thomas Eller, Acting Director General for Nuclear Energy at the Czech Ministry of Industry, added that price was only one factor among over 60 criteria included in the bidding process. U.S. President Joe Biden hopes the incoming Trump administration rethinks its tariff plans for its regional trade partners. Lee Soo-jin with more.
U.S. President Biden expressed hope that President-elect Trump will reconsider his plans to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Speaking to reporters on Thursday, Biden stressed that the tariffs would ruin relations with the neighboring countries.
I hope he rethinks it. I think it's a counterproductive thing to do. You know, look, one of the things you've heard me say before that we have an unusual situation in America. We're surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, and two allies, Mexico and Canada. And the last thing we need to do is begin to screw up those relationships.
The comments come as Trump pledged to impose a 25% tariff on all goods coming from Mexico and Canada on day one of his presidency. He said on social media on Monday that the tariffs would remain in place until the two countries clamped down on drugs, particularly fentanyl, and migrants crossing their borders illegally. According to data from the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, Mexico and Canada are the second and third highest suppliers of goods to the U.S., while China, which Trump's proposed plan would also impact, exports the most to the United States. But Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum showed confidence on Thursday that a tariff war with the United States could be averted when asked how a trade war would affect the country.
There will be no potential tariff war.
The Mexican leader had earlier warned that Trump's tariff plan would affect the U.S. economy and American companies that have been in Mexico for decades. Meanwhile, amid concerns that Trump could also impose tariffs on South Korea upon his return to the White House, the U.S. Congressional Research Service explained in its latest report that many economists argued tariff reductions under the free trade agreement between Seoul and Washington have not contributed significantly to the increase in the bilateral trade deficit. The FTA between South Korea and the U.S., which entered into force in March 2012, has reduced and eliminated tariff and non-tariff barriers on manufactured goods, agricultural products, and services. During Trump's first term, trade tensions had been evident, with Trump threatening to withdraw from the FTA and imposing new U.S. global import restrictions on some South Korean industries, including steel. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Back here at home, the main opposition Democratic Party members of the National Assembly Special Committee on Budget and Accounts unilaterally passed next year's budget bill today. This is the first time in the committee's history that the opposition has processed the budget alone and followed members of the ruling People Power Party walking out just before the vote. The passed budget bill cuts 4.1 trillion Korean won, or around $3 billion from the government's original 677.4 trillion won. The DP said it had no choice but to pass the budget as the committee failed to reach an agreement, and the original budget would then have been automatically sent to the Assembly plenary session. The Assembly can cut the budget without government approval, but needs this to increase it or add new items. Following the vote, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok said the impact of the opposition's unilateral budget cuts would fall on the people, urging the DP to work toward an agreement. The revised budget will be voted on at the plenary session on Monday, the deadline for the vote. At a sudden press conference last night, K-pop girl group NewJeans announced it'll leave their agency ADOR. However, the agency stated that the group's contract remains valid. Our Shin Ha-young takes a look at where the dispute could go from here.
K-pop girl group NewJeans still has 5 years remaining on its contract with their agency ADOR, a subsidiary of HYBE. Breaking the contract could reportedly result in penalties of up to 600 billion Korean won, or around $430 million. While this has sparked speculation that the group will not be able to leave easily, the members insist they can, claiming ADOR and HYBE violated contract terms.
We've never violated our contract and have been giving our best in everything we do. We believe there is absolutely no reason for us to pay any penalties.
The remarks came during the emergency press conference on Thursday night, where the 5-member group said neither HYBE nor ADOR have shown any willingness to improve the situation they're in. While saying they will no longer be ADOR artists with the exclusive contract terminated, the members said they will freely pursue activities they truly desire while promising to do all pre-scheduled and contracted activities as planned, including advertisements. Regarding any legal measures, NewJeans clarified it won't be filing for an injunction to suspend the validity of the exclusive contract. The group's contract termination follows the company's dispute with its former CEO, Min Hee-jin. After months of tension over HYBE's allegations that Min had attempted to take control of the label and NewJeans, the agency removed her as ADOR CEO in August. On November 13th, NewJeans sent an official list of demands to its agency, including the reinstatement of Min as CEO and a formal apology from the manager of another rookie group under a HYBE subsidiary, Eyelid, over alleged workplace harassment against member Hani. But none of the corrective actions demanded were properly made, the members said. After the announcement, ADOR issued a statement expressing regret over the group's decision, even before it gave a response to the demand letter and without sufficient consideration. While stressing it has not violated any terms, ADOR claimed that the contract with NewJeans remains valid. With both sides in disagreement, industry insiders say a lawsuit seems unavoidable, and since legal steps are needed to end the contract, a long court battle is likely ahead. Meanwhile, lawyer Lee Hyun-gon suggested that NewJeans could terminate the contract without legal action. In this case, it would be ADOR's responsibility to file a lawsuit against NewJeans while the group waits for the outcome. He also pointed out that HYBE had previously unilaterally notified Min of the termination of their shareholder agreement. 신하영, Arirang News.
Time now for our weekly arts and culture segment. We have our culture correspondent Song Yujin in the studio. Happy Friday, Yujin.
Happy Friday, Jungmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Jungmin, a few months ago, I covered the growing presence of Korean musicals abroad, and this is, of course, thanks to the hard efforts of many people. But I found that one person in particular has reached significant milestones for the Korean musical industry this year. Now, so first, take a look at my interview with him. Just like the lyrics, Shin Chun-soo's career is roaring on. A trailblazer in Korean theater, he's the president and main producer of OD Company, one of the country's leading musical production companies. This year, he made history as the first Asian to serve as the sole lead producer of a Broadway musical. The Great Gatsby, a stage adaptation of F. Scott Fitzgerald's classic novel, has been running at the Broadway Theater since April, grossing over $1 million every week since its opening, and even winning a Tony Award for Best Costume Design. And the momentum doesn't stop there. Next year, the production will make its West End debut. So, what's the secret to crafting a musical that's set to perform at the world's two greatest theater capitals?
The Great Gatsby is a timeless masterpiece with themes like the pursuit of love and struggles across social classes that feel so relevant today. We wanted the production to feel like one grand party, combining dazzling stage aesthetics with a powerful sense of tragedy.
But Gatsby is just one chapter in Shin's career. Back at home, the beloved Korean production of Jekyll and Hyde is gearing up for its 9th season.
Jekyll and Hyde helped me establish myself as a producer. At the time, it was seen as revolutionary, bringing together fresh talent from actors and staff to producers. For this 20th anniversary production, we focused on every detail, crafting it as a gift, not just for the audience, but for ourselves as well.
With a repertoire that includes hits like Grease, Sweeney Todd, Man of La Mancha, and Il Tenore, how does he decide which stories to bring to life?
Classic literature has universal emotions that connect with everyone, and classic musicals have songs that leave a lasting impression. Sometimes I take risks with experimental works that push boundaries, but at the heart of it all is my commitment to creating high-quality productions for the audience.
Shin also shared his vision for bringing Korean musicals to a broader audience.
I remember being a British producer in 2001 who was surprised to hear Korean even had musicals. Now, with the growing cultural and economic influence, Korean musicals are gaining global attention. To keep growing, we must see the world as our stage and support young talent to create works with universal appeal.
And he'll keep working hard to make this happen.
My next goal is to stage a production with Korean actors performed in Korean. I believe musicals can transcend language, and this will showcase the talent of our actors and the excellence of Korean musicals.
It's a decades-long passion that's driving Korean musicals to new heights on the world stage.
So starting from Korea, then to the Broadway, and now to the West End, he is definitely a pioneer in the Korean musical industry. Eugene, for our international viewers, especially in the US and the UK, how can they catch the great Gatsby?
So let's first start with Broadway. On Broadway, Gatsby has been on an open run since April 25th this year at the Broadway Theater, as mentioned in my report. Now, being on an open run show doesn't have a set closing date and keeps going on as long as there is an audience eager to see it. So you can check the show's schedule on the official website and buy tickets in person, online, or by phone. And as for Gatsby's West End premiere, it will start its preview run on April 11th next year and will have a 5-month limited run until September 7th. And you can book the tickets at the link below, which you are seeing right now.
All right, and for musical fans here in Korea, it sounds like there's plenty to look forward to this year and beyond.
You're absolutely right. So many people have been saying that Korea's musical lineup for the latter half of this year is one of the best ever, because aside from Jekyll and Hyde, which you've seen in my report, there is also the first Korean production of the Disney on Broadway's Aladdin the Musical, which will run until next June. And also there is the Korean musical, The Last Empress, which celebrates its 30th anniversary with a new production that is starting in January. So I want to just tell our international viewers, if you're planning to visit Korea soon, be sure to add a musical to your itinerary.
They're on my list as well. Thank you, Eugene.
Thank you.
Most of the heavy snow has moved away. However, cold winds continue in most parts of the country. Even though cloudy skies will continue this weekend, it will still be good to enjoy outdoor activities as the cold spell weakens a bit. It will rain or snow a little more in southern Gyeonggi-do province, the Chungcheong-do provinces, the Jeollado provinces, Gyeongsang-buk-do province, and Jeju Island until tonight. Having a heavy snow advisory in place, the mountainous areas of Jeju Island will have up to 7 centimeters of more snow. Rain will fall in the central parts of the country tomorrow as well. Tomorrow, a cold morning is expected in most parts of the country. Daejeon -1, Chuncheon -4 degrees. Highs will move up to 12 degrees in Gwangju, Daegu and Gyeongju 11 degrees. On Monday, daytime temperature will rise up to 12 degrees in Seoul. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.